Hey there everybody, welcome in. Today's video is going to be on No Time to Die, the 2021 James Bond film. I'm going to start with kind of a bigger picture and then work my way in, and let's jump in. So, if you have been following the Daniel Craig Bond movies, you will know that they've kind of followed a pattern of good, bad, good, bad. So it's Casino Royale, Skyfall, good, Quantum of Solace, and Spectre, bad for the most part. Every movie has good things, bad things, but big picture, good, bad, good, bad. So ever since Spectre left kind of a rough, abrasive, like not a great taste in my mouth, as soon as they announced that Daniel Craig was coming back, there was going to be a fifth movie, my hope was that it was going to fill that pattern and he would end with a trilogy of good movies to offset the duo of duds, as I would say. And I'll get into more of this later, but initially, yes, he did. I enjoyed No Time to Die very much, and kind of get into more of the specifics of it. It's a long movie. First of all, it is 2 hours 45 minutes approximately. Obviously, there's going to be some wiggle room depending on how long you stay for the credits. And I will go ahead and say the last frame of the credits is the iconic James Bond will return. But we'll get into more of that here in a minute as to why that means a little bit more now than it might have before. So right now, day of recording, Skyfall is my favorite movie. Not my favorite James Bond movie, not my favorite Daniel Craig movie. It is when someone asks me, hey, what movie should I watch outside of any other context other than maybe John Wick, because that movie is damn good. I will say Skyfall. The plot is good, the actors are good, the cinematography is good, and that is the standard that I held Spectre to. And obviously, as you can tell, Spectre didn't reach that. It is a tarnished silver if Skyfall is gold. And No Time to Die, to me, is a return more to near the Skyfall level. I think Daniel Craig does really, really well in this movie. There are some things I don't like about it. I'll go ahead and start off with that. I forgot it because I'm bad. Lashana Lynch is introduced in No Time to Die. Her character name is Nomi. Her designation inside of MI6, she's the new 007. At the time, Bond has retired. They thought he was dead. Kind of his thing, I suppose. And she was given the designation. And I don't like her character, and I think that's kind of the point. You've heard of the phrase a chip on your shoulder. She has the whole bag. She's abrasive to Bond, who I don't really think has done anything to deserve that from her. You know, there are plenty of other characters who could have much more animosity toward him, and it would be very earned. But the character building for Nomi, or the character development, is very rapid. Because later in the movie, after very minimal interactions between the two of them, she's like, no, call him 007 again. And he's just like, whatever. Like, it's a number. We established this earlier in the film. And they did. Rami Malek is the villain of this film. His character name is Safin, I believe. It's not going to help. Cast. Lucifer. Very on the nose there. Safin. He is the villain, and he is kind of a weak point to me. Rami Malek is an incredibly, incredibly talented actor, as anyone who's seen Bohemian Rhapsody can tell you. But this is kind of a miss for me. There's a lot that goes on in this movie. This character has some depth, but he's not granted the same oomph as Bond, obviously, as the hero, the protagonist of the movie. or even Leia Seydoux, Madeline Swan, or Hugh M, Moneypenny, the characters that you know and have more, you have more experience with them. They're deeper characters by nature. So even Blofeld, who's in this movie, as coming in from Spectre and carried by Christoph Waltz, his presence is better. The weapon Safin has is a DNA targeted nanotechnology, nanobot, I believe is what they called it. And that's fine. It doesn't quite have the human element that Skyfall did of, M did me wrong, so I have to get back at her and you're in my way of that. And in that sense, the villain, the villainous device, the weapon of mass destruction, is a problem to me. It's just kind of weak. It was developed off the books by M, so all of this that hits the fan is really his fault, and I think as the movie progresses, you can see him realize that. And personally, just as an aside, I'm still getting used to the idea of Ralph Fiennes as not the villain, because I haven't seen The English Patient, but I have seen Schindler's List and Harry Potter, and let me tell you, those are not likable characters that he plays. So, just throwing that out there, him as not the villain is still an adjustment for me. Let me gather some more thoughts here. I think one of the other things I enjoy so much about specifically Skyfall and No Time to Die is they don't feel like Bond movies. You know what I mean? Like a Bond movie, whether it's Connery, Moore, Brosnan, they kind of have this, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be a campy, fun, action-y spy movie. And these two really haven't been. It's not to say they're boring. Some parts of them are boring. I will say that. But it is to say that they're more plot-driven than anything else. You can see it as the movie goes that I don't know. It's not exclusively action scene, action scene, action scene. They're in here, and I think they're for the most part very good. In particular, there's a car chase scene through the woods of, I believe it's somewhere in Scandinavia, and it's shot very well, I think. I don't know that you could say an action scene in this sense would be acted well, but it's choreographed well. The scene itself is done well. I feel scattered. It's late, and I want to do this because if I don't do it now, I won't. I will chicken out and I won't do it. So, what is the conversation I went to go see it at a local theater where I live. Support local business wherever you go, please. They're people. Those people need to get paid. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, I think one of the reasons that Skyfall and I'll lump it in, No Time to Die, hit harder is because they aren't, like I said, they aren't Bond movies. So it's kind of like the metaphor or the comparison that I gave to her was one of the reasons that I enjoy Captain America the Winter Soldier so much is because it's not just a comic book movie. It is, don't get me wrong, but it's also a political thriller with comic book characters. And that's kind of how this movie feels. Like this is a drama, an action drama, let's be honest. But with Bond characters. So if you take the Bond characters out and you give original characters, this might have a different reception because it might be, we don't know these characters as well. We don't know their motivations, the the whys, that why they do what they do, or it could be the opposite of like, wow, these one-off characters, they have so much depth and they've gone through so much, and I feel like it finds that medium of characters that we know and have been developed for the most part. Safine, um, being the exception to that, and it takes them out of just a campy action spy movie and puts them into a darker tone drama where you see the wheels turn as they go, and it just I don't know, it feels different. Watching No Time to Die feels different than watching Die Another Day. Let's throw one out there. It's not the same. Die Another Day knew what it was, and I feel like to that extent it did it well, but I don't think you have critics defending a famously bad movie that would be different from No Time to Die, which I would say is an objectively good movie. One of my walk away thoughts was that the movie ends very unsatisfactorily. By that I mean, this movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It's a long movie to sit through. And I'm sure there are things that could have been cut. There's a scene with, actually the entire scene really, with Ana de Armas's character. Based on the trailers, I thought that she was going to be much more prevalent, and she wasn't. She's in really one essential scene at the beginning, and then not in any of the rest of the movie. So it makes me wonder if they're setting her up to be a recurring character down the line. But there are some bits that you could just chunk out, but I don't know that you want to. I feel like the movie flows very well, and it doesn't feel like a 2 hour and 45 minute movie to me. And I say that because I could have done with another 15 minutes. Hit that 3 hour mark, have it end well, satisfactorily. I say that because the climactic end action scene is they kill James Bond. Daniel Craig calls in an airstrike on the island he's in, and he realizes he has to stay. So he calls the strike in. He has to open blast doors on a missile silo island in the Pacific. It's now that I'm saying some of these things out loud, it is kind of James Bondy in that sense. But you see the missiles land, and you don't see him blow up. It's a PG-13, but you know he doesn't make it, and it cuts to his former lover, mother of his child, we find out in this movie, and their child, and the new 007, presumably she gets the designation back with Nomi. And then it somewhat abruptly cuts to London, where M, Tanner, Q, and Moneypenny all have a very brief service. And then it cuts to Madeline and their daughter, Mathilde, driving around the countryside. And she goes, "Let me tell you a story about James Bond." And it cuts to credits. And it feels like it doesn't end so much as it just stops. I hate when movies do that. The most notable to me, obviously, is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. And in that sense, it makes complete sense, because it's the first movie of a trilogy where the events happen boom, boom, boom. So the first movie ends, or the first movie stops, but the second movie starts essentially right there. Like, there's not a gap between what happens. And there will be a gap between what happens here and if it's some type of Bond universe reset, or if kind of like I thought about earlier, if Ana de Armas becomes the new Felix Leiter type character, if Nomi stays 007, which I don't know that I would like. I don't know. I'm torn on that, and it's not anything against the idea of a woman as 007 or a black woman as 007. It's just I didn't like her character, and I don't feel like I was supposed to. She is written as not an anti-hero, not an antagonist, but kind of a minor hero in that, like, she's on the side of good, but she's a little abrasive about how she does it. And she shows growth throughout the movie. And I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think after you've seen it, before you've seen it, whatever. It's an interesting conversation to be had. Because I think it's one we've been having for years, right? We talked about, should Idris Elba be James Bond? And he was really the only notable name thrown around. And I genuinely don't know where they go from here. Because the ending of this movie is unsatisfactory. But the ending of Daniel Craig's arc, I think, is good. I think he ends well. And that's ultimately my takeaway. The friend that I saw this movie with said that she always sleeps on a movie before formulating an opinion, and now I kind of wish that I had done that because it's getting late. I'm going to be tired at work tomorrow, but I think initially my walk away from this movie, I walked away at an 8. I think, well, that's not true. I walked away, I left the theater and got in my car, and I was like, yeah, this movie's like an 8.5, 9. And kind of in the process of thinking about what I was going to say, talking about it to some of my other friends, it's not that. It's not much worse. It's in the 7.5, 8 realm now. I would say dropped about a full point. And it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you are, like me, a Bond fan. But if you can stomach a 3-hour movie watching experience, if you account for the line at concessions and trailers, things, then it's absolutely worth it. Get out of the house if you can, actually watch it in the theater, and kind of get back to that experience that we all wanted back when this movie was supposed to come out in March of 2020. So I'm getting a little disjointed. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. But again, typical YouTube shtick. Please like and subscribe, share with your friends. Please let me know how I can improve. I know already a couple of ways, but constructive criticism is absolutely every content creator's best friend. So again, thank you for your time. I hope that you have had a great day and are going to continue to have great weeks, months, etc. And I will see you with my next video, hopefully. So until then, y'all have a great time.